Welcome to the podcast, Science of High Paid, High Performing, Happy Engineers, the show to help engineers develop all skills non technical. My name is Aditya Gute, and I'm a speaker and a performance coach for engineers to transform them into rock stars because I believe there's a rock star hiding inside each one of you, and it just needs to be brought outside to uncover your full potential as an engineer.
Hey guys, welcome to the show today. We have Nader Mowlaee. Nader is a career coach who helps engineers and scientists secure new jobs using effective networking principles and without wasting time on job advertisements. He's inspired by building confidence in people and helping them take calculated actions to secure interviews quickly and land high-paying job offers. Nader is on a journey to educate, encourage, and empower engineers to become the happiest version of themselves. Nader, thank you for being here on the show with us. It's a pleasure to have you. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Aditya. It's good to be back here and sharing my story with your community and hoping to add value to their lives and their careers as best as I can today.
Yes, just for the context, Nader spoke to a community of people who are trying to get jobs a couple of weeks ago, and people shared with me personally that interview has helped them tremendously. They're able to get more interview calls because of some of the top tips Nader has shared. So Nader, just with that, we'd love to start with your story, right? You and I graduated pretty much around the same time when during 2008, right, when everything was really bad. And after that, you went on to become a coach, recruiter, wore several hats, and now you're actively helping engineers land their dream offers and become the happiest version of themselves. So take us through your story on how that evolved.
Yeah, absolutely. So I ultimately became the person that I needed, when I needed that person in my life, right? So that's that's what puts a smile on my face, because back in December 2007, 2008, when I graduated, pretty much the last recession hit. Then the housing market crashed, and then almost all markets crashed after that. I got my bachelor's degree in electronics engineering, and I specialized in embedded software development. So I really wanted to get into manufacturing sector, in robotics, in automotive, because I love cars. I grew up around, gearheads. My grandfather, father, brothers are all mechanics and engineers. So that was my destiny. That was what I was raised to do, what I was bred to do. So it just really hit me in the heart right off the bat that I couldn't just follow my dreams. And trust me, I did. I spent like 8 months applying to jobs online and just didn't work out. So I ultimately ended up getting a job in a call center. I worked at a telecommunications company, answering phone calls, helping people fix their phone. I was the only engineer in a department of probably over 100 people at the time. And it just really became a mental challenge for me, why I was so underachieved, overqualified and underachieved. So I wish I knew about career coaches or life coaches at the time, but I unfortunately didn't. Life wasn't, I wasn't that lucky at the time. Life wasn't that fair, I thought, right? So I went through a couple of years working at the call center. I used to work at a coffee shop, Tim Hortons. This is back in Canada. So again, serving people coffee with an engineering degree, filling in donuts with jelly. That's what I did for a living on the weekends. And I sometimes did double shifts. So I also worked as a security guard. So that was interesting for me, just, going through life between 2008 to 2010, living as a call center representative, a coffee servant, a donut bringer, and a security guard. So I went through a lot of severe mental health issues and challenges, and really helped it encouraged in a negative way. You know, it caused me to lose my identity and go through a lot of mental challenges. So when 2010 hit, I had just had it. You know, I was not the person I was before. So I ended up changing the industry. And at the time, I just wanted to stop working 3 jobs. I wanted to make more money. You know, I was promised to make, you know, minimum $30 an hour. Well, I was barely making $15 an hour. I was making, my first pay was $14.90 as a call center representative. And I was making like $11.50 as a security guard and, you know, like less than $10 pouring people coffee, right? So I added it all together. I said, well, if I could get a job that was just like one job, you know, that I could just quit the other 2, then I'll be happy. So I ended up going towards sales because I had friends who were making good money in sales, in technical sales. So I made a rational or maybe irrational decision. I don't know which, but I just quit and I got another job. I went to technical sales thinking that I'm going to find happiness by pursuing money, but it wasn't it. I was definitely making more money at this point. I was making my $30 an hour plus commission, but I was even more miserable. You know, my work-life balance was non-existent. I had to commute a lot. I had to deal with people on the phone, you know, try to sell, the pressure of selling. So that was extremely stressful and even led to me changing my first name. You know, like I had lost so much of my identity because I felt like, you know what, I'll be more successful if I have like a Western name, you know, people can pronounce it. And I thought people can't say my name. That's why they don't want to buy anything from me. Right. So, okay, well, let me change my name. And that didn't fix anything. People were calling me and like, I wasn't even turning around. It didn't register, you know? So that was interesting. Towards the end of 2010, going into 2011, I was so desperate. And that's when I first learned about coaches. So that was like sales coaches, because in a sales job, I had a sales coach. So I realized, wow, there's people who are in this profession. And my sales coach was Jody Carisi. So Jody really helped me fall in love with coaching, though this was just the early phases of me knowing what a professional coach is or what he or she does. But when I transitioned out of sales and went to recruiting, literally going to a recruiting company, begging for a job, and they ended up hiring me. They said, you know what, you're driven, you have a sales background, you have a technical background, why don't you just work for us? I said, you know what, it's whatever. If you can just get me out of the job that I am in right now, I don't care where I work. And that's what I did. I ended up working for a really good staffing company, recruiting company. And to make that long story short, in 2 years, I was the #1 recruiter in their engineering division. And to make that story short as well, that's a very sweet story. But to make it short, 2 years later, having hit great levels of success in corporate Canada, I left and started my own company, and I began coaching and also recruiting at the same time. Though my heart was always in coaching. So 8 years later, here 2020 and moving on to 2021, I've primarily focused on coaching and helping engineers, scientists, technologists go from where they are in their career to where they need to be, so they can at the same time find the abundance that they're looking for, take a holistic approach to life, not just a job that fulfills their financial needs, but one that supports their social and spiritual wellness and allows them to become just the happiest version of themselves.
That's a powerful story, Nader. Just hearing your story, and because I know you also at a personal level, there's so much more to it. But because this is a short interview, I'll just move on. But your story is just such an inspiring story. Coaching is also one of my favorite topics. I feel that has transformed my life. Like I went from an engineer who puts my head down, get stuff done, to becoming a speaker and also a coach, helping other engineers as well. So, what do you think are the barriers that stand between engineers wanting to ask for help and work with a coach?
The obstacles you mean, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's it's the fear of being rejected, being rejected, not in terms of, no, I'm not gonna coach you, but just fear of not asking the right questions, because if you have never done something before, then without a doubt, you're not going to be adaptable in that realm. Anytime we go into a new environment, we walk into a new situation, new conversation that we haven't been in before, we lack adaptability, and that's what causes fear in us. So the main thing I would tell you and your audience right now is that, when we go and try something new, it's not that we're afraid of failing. It is not that, because we've failed before. From when we're a little kid, we've fallen down, we've scraped our knees, we've failed the semester, we've failed the course, we've failed the relationship, we've lost the game, we've missed opportunities. So we know what it feels like to fail. We just don't want to be seen failing, because when people see you missing opportunities and failing, it's just like unfortunately, you're equivalent. You're kind of like, you're a failure, you're weak. It's that feeling of being small, being insignificant. That's what we fear the most. It's the feeling. It's not the act of failing itself, because failure, all that failure is just the step towards success. And we never do something for the first time and hit success. It's fail, 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 try again. And then you hit your mark, right? So I really encourage everyone to perceive failure as just one of the steps on the ladder towards success. And there are several different things you can do to practice and try on your own, in your own bubble, in a safe container, to get better at it, to get better at performing that task in a public, in a public environment before you actually go and do it. So maybe that's something that we can talk about today, but you don't necessarily have to just get out there, take your shirt off and be like, yeah, this is me, I want to do this. You got to prepare. So preparation is the key. And what a coach does, what you and I do to make engineers happier, or take, helping engineers transform into rock stars, what we do, we help them prepare. We don't just take them and put them out there in the market. We help them prepare so they can come up with clarity of what that market looks like, what that realm looks like. And that's going to give them the confidence to go there on their own feet and then get better results. They don't necessarily have to win and get the gold medal right off the bat, but they no longer fear looking stupid, because we've trained with them, we've role played with them, we've given them all the tools, we've told them what to say and how to say it, and we've practiced with each other. So the level of fear is far lower than what it was before when you didn't have a coach.
That's so well articulated, and especially when you said, there is fear of failure among many of us, and many of the engineering clients that I work with, right? They want to start their businesses, they want to grow in their career, but they're afraid to start that business because what if I fail, right? And that embarrassment from failure is something that they don't want to handle, so they might not as well try it. So there's no failure, right? And that's is something you alluded to. So with that said, there are so many benefits of hiring a coach, right? And what do you think are some of the resistance, that engineers face in terms of like, hey, let me work with a coach?
The primary thing is, like, all engineers, you and I included, we were raised with with much higher level of expectations than someone else. I'm not going to point at anyone, but if you studied STEM, so if you're in science, technology, engineering, or mathematics, you were put on a pedestal. You're like, oh, you're the smartest kid of the family. You know what I mean? Like, I have a brother and sister, none of them have an engineering degree. I was the only person who finished school. So it doesn't make me special, but other members of the family, they they kind of look up to me because I got a degree in engineering, you know? So that sets the expectations higher. And as I go into life, anybody who's listening to this conversation goes into life, you know, their perception is a perception of someone who has this very tough exterior and a thick skin and more like a robot, you know, like we get washed, our emotions are kind of like washed away in engineering school and in an engineering career, but we're still human, you know, we still have emotions. We are operating internally in our heart, in our mind, the same way as a painter or a singer or someone who works in sales and marketing. There's no difference between them and us. It's just that they have gone through more experiences in life where they had to express themselves, when they have to speak and have conversations, share what's in their head, what's in their mind, or their heart. Engineering, unfortunately, isn't one of those, career paths or one of those curriculums where you actually get to speak a lot. You know, they're like, okay, well, give me the exam, I'll fill in the paper. Where's the online test? I'll take the online. Where's the software? Give me a mouse. That's all I want. I don't even need to talk to you, right? So that's what begins this cycle of creating this insecurity, because we don't communicate as much. And whenever someone gets to talk to us, they look at us like we're freaking Terminator. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just a normal human, man. You know, I got emotions, I got feelings. You know what I mean? I'm just like you. There's no difference between us. So having experienced that, being isolated from society, from the large communities, to be frank, when we go into the job market, we are now significantly underprepared than others, that others who had to give 10 presentations every week, who had to, do role plays, who had to just like utilize their soft skills more than we did. Engineers are all about hard skills, right? And because most people don't have those hard skills, we get this, we get these stars on our shoulders, like we're the general, but that gets old. You know what I mean? We want to be human at the end of the day. So when we lack these skills and we find out about coaching, and we really want someone to help us in our heart, but it's difficult to ask because we've never asked, we've never had that person. We were not trained that way. We gotta, like, I learned Visual Basic 6 over the Christmas holiday in 2011, 2006, before I graduate. I had to learn a new programming language to basically for the graphic user interface for our project. No one had to teach me that, and that was like, I'm not special. That was like everybody. We had a big textbook, and these days, I don't know, textbooks may be not in use anymore. It might be all digital, but back in 2006, when old people like me went to engineering school, we had textbooks and we had to use our pen and paper, So we were kind of like we were led to be alone and kind of like figure things out on our own. And still to this day, it's still the same. But, that's what creates that hesitation, that, it's not a fear of asking. It's like, I didn't even know how to start this conversation,
I can't agree more with you. When you're sharing that example, one of the things that's coming to my mind is during my final years of being an engineer, last 2 to 3 years, and I was exposed to coaching, and I was like, all right, there's fun in networking with people, because until then I was completely closed off to networking as well. Coaching has exposed me to, all right, there's fun in networking with people, value. And then I would try to reach out to other engineers, wanting to just say them a hi. There's no particular agenda. And they would be like, email me, I'll answer your questions. And I'm like, hey man, I want to connect. Email me. I don't have time to connect, right? So it's very logically driven conversation. What do you want from me? I will answer you. I mean, there's absolutely nothing of an ill intent in there. The guy genuinely wants to help me, but I'm not looking for help, right? I'm just looking for connection. So you're very spot on in what you just shared, Nader. So what do you think are some of the ways you have helped engineers in the past either get jobs or grow in their career and achieve great career success and also happiness?
Yeah, great question. So I'll just piggyback on what you just said, connections, right? Because the three step that I take everyone through is to make connections, conversations, which leads to a community. So those are the three C's: connections, conversations, community. So first of all, you need to come together. You know, there's your two dots. You need to bring a 1 and a 0 together to make sense of it, to make a number, right? You need to bring two people together. That where it's all, you know, without that other person be there for you, you couldn't have a conversation, you know, you couldn't communicate. So it's a matter of finding the right people that are aligned in terms of their purpose. They're both on the same mission. One has a problem, the other one has the solution. You know, I bring the problem, you bring the solution. So now we are interdependent. Now we can bind it together and establish a conversation. So that conversation is going to be mutually beneficial because you're going to have your problem solved and I'm going to implement my solution. It makes me feel good because I'm now productive, I'm useful, you know, I have a purpose in life, and you're happy because your problem was solved. So now you can progress, you can make improvements. Now, if we continue having those conversations and keep solving each other's problems and offering solutions to one another, then that develops a community that creates those friendships, you know, and ultimately a business is started from one person, led to two, led to four, led to eight, you know, it just grew and became a community, became a company, you know, a lot of C's in there, you know, connections, communities, conversations, and companies. So that's what the word company really means, to be with someone else, right? To create that, to create a tribe, so to speak, you know, and then a tribe is self-sustaining when they're constantly working well with another in a harmonious way and solving other people's problems, you know. So now one company or one tribe can connect and have conversations with another company, another tribe, and make a bigger empire, right? So, I mean, another C for you is a country. You know, a country is it started with one person, Christopher Columbus. Well, didn't start with one person, but like, you know what I mean? There used to be one person, but then grew and grew. And then, you know, communities were formed, and communities hand to hand created the country. So that's something that everybody understands. If you're a human being with a heartbeat, you understand what it means to connect with someone and why it's necessary. You understand the importance of conversations, especially you communicate in a mutually beneficial pattern. So I help individuals figure out who the right connections are, establish the connection, begin to communicate in a way that it continues. It is beneficial for both parties, and then sustain it for longer periods of time. So you can join their community. So that's where a job offer is extended. You know, why don't you come on and join our community? Here's a job offer for us to continue working together.
Great. And that's a perfect segue into my next question. Recently, you have also started a career coaching community to help engineers in a big number. Can you share a little more details about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So career coaching has always been my forte, you know, since 2012, basically. If you want to go back a little bit, since 2010. And I've always been driven to help professionals with their careers, you know, helping them from where they are to where they want to be, and create that happiness from the occupational point of view. But a new endeavor that I've embarked on is the life coaching aspect. Because I've personally always had coaches and instructors, and I don't want to call them life coaches, but I grew up competing in sports. So when I say instructors, these are sports instructors, and I've always been in solitary sports, primarily martial arts, but I competed, and I also competed in swimming. So I always had a coach standing there yelling at me, telling me to do things the right way and stay focused and not lose interest and go. So knowing the benefits of that and how it's shaped my personality, that's how it shaped my life. You know, I literally have had 30 years of being trained, you know, in preparation of becoming a life coach. So when COVID happened and a lot of professionals started to have these severe emotional and mental pressures, and then we went to isolation and, you know, quarantine. So we were turned away. We're just removed from our social circles. And then we found ourselves alone at home, couldn't really handle, you know, being home alone. That's what really sparked this idea for me to create a community to help people. Now, my people are engineers, scientists, you know, technologists, someone who's a certified nerd, you know, like me. You got to be an engineering nerd or a guy or a geek, science geek, like myself. You know, I was raised by a scientist, by a biologist, my mom, and my dad, an engineer. So, and everybody in the family, it's basically like mechanics. The family business from my grandfather has been mechanics. So we're all gearheads and car guys. So if you're someone like that, and I went to electronics and software and worked in telecommunication, IT, and, you know, so I have this very well surrounded approach to what makes this community special. STEM, you know, if you studied STEM. And what I decided to help them with is to help them in 3 areas: with their mindset, with their social well-being, and their spiritual wellness. So mindset for obvious reasons, because every problem is a mindset problem. If you lack drive, if you are anxious, if you are depressed, if you're going through job search and you're getting no results, that's going to, first of all, negatively affect your mindset, which would just, it's like mold. It just covers everything else. Everything turns green and you lose your will to live, quite frankly. So that was an obvious one. And again, having grown up in sports, especially solitary sports, especially like literally 29, 30 years of martial arts, 3 black belts, competing, coaching, instructing. When it comes to mindset, I can give myself a black belt on that, if you will, you know? So that was given. So I wanted to kind of like start a mindset coaching business and say, you know what, I'm a mindset coach, but that wasn't just enough. You know, I knew there was a couple of other things I was really strong at. So one was the social aspect of it. So over the last 5 years, I got married 5 years ago and moved from Canada to the US. So my business started picking up. I was a newlywed, very driven. So I continued to work online, and being in a new country, I wasn't going to just get out there, start making friends and go out there drinking and everything. So I was just working like 15 to 18 hours a day, just like work from sunrise to sundown, past sundown, go to sleep, get back up. So I've kind of been in a self-inflicted quarantine for like 5 plus 6 years. So one thing that I started doing really well back in 2015 was to start creating these online communities, build teams. And I was still recruiting at the time, but put myself in social circles that are all virtual. So I got really good at that. I found a process, strategy, methodologies, best practices to successfully integrate myself in social circles, but not physically, virtually. So I said, you know what? This whole COVID situation is perfect. I've been training for this all, like, not all my life, but the last 5 years, I've been training for this. So I had to put that part of the program. So social wellness is one of the 3 pillars. And the third one, which is something that I have been training for all my life, literally, is to be great at being alone, you know? So being an engineer, being an introvert, you know, it's just like growing up in martial arts. I have never played, you know, like a team sport. So like in those environments, I really sat down and realized that all that got me to 2015 and 2020, those 5 years, I was extremely successful, extremely happy, you know, happy at home, being home alone, regularly meditating, regularly journaling, reading a book a week, sometimes more than that. And I still do all those 3 to this day. going through daily practices that allowed me to align myself with my soul's purpose, be inwardly aligned, not having to find, seek pleasure from outside sources or seek validation from an external event or an external person. So that's something I did really well, became really self-reliant, self-sufficient. And I said, bingo, that's what spirituality is. That's at least what it means to me, and it has a long list of benefits. So third and last pillar is spirituality or spiritual wellness. So that's what this community is all about. It's the engineer's guide to building an abundant life. I've called it the engineer on a mission, is the name of our community, because we're all on the same mission to become, mentally strong, socially well-connected, and spiritually aligned. So again, we become the happiest version of ourselves.
Wonderful, Nader. Great. So we are almost at the end of our time here. So last 1 minute, any final thoughts that you would like to share with the community?
Oh, I mean, if you're experiencing any of those three problems, if you're experiencing mental pressure, anxiety, depression, loss of identity, if you don't know where your life's heading, you're lacking purpose, there's no meaning, let me know. Let's talk. If you are missing your friends, if you are away from your community, if you lack that one-on-one connection, you can't figure out how to build a community or join a community and become a positively contributing member of an online virtual community, I want to talk to you. I want to help you. I know I can help you. And if you cannot take it being at home alone for like a day, and you may have had some training this year in doing this, but if you cannot go in a room alone by yourself and like close your eyes and think about life for 5 minutes and just meditate, or if you're not a regular writer or reader, if you don't picture yourself being happy in a prison cell, then I want to talk to you. I know I can help you, because these are the skills that you no longer can neglect. This is a time, this is a place for you to do it, for you to become self-sufficient, self-reliant, but at the same time, be able to connect and communicate and have conversations within a virtual social circle, which all would positively affect your mindset. And mindset is literally the key to life. When you develop your mindset, you develop yourself in every aspect of your life. So if you're interested in checking us out, go to engineeronamission.com.
Excellent. Thank you again, Nader, for being with us here. Always a pleasure to have this deep conversations with you.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me. I look forward to our next conversation.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to my podcast. Hopefully you learned some important nuggets to uncover the rock star from inside of you. If you have any questions, you can reach me on my email at aditya@whoweare.io. It's ADITYA @whoweare.io.